we got us some chicken legs here. As you can tell, there's about 6 of them in there, little old chicken legs. Wasn't much that I could really do with them. So we're going to boil them and then just figure something out. I don't know what we're going to do. So it's going to be a surprise for me too. So let's boil these down and see where we go from there. All right, I'm gonna flip on a light here. I added me a couple of breasts to that chicken and started boiling here. I think we've made up our mind on like a chicken pot pie soup. We're even going to put dumplings in it, I think. But we got carrots and taters over there. We got this boiling, or trying to boil. Actually turned up 375 there to get her boiled. We'll let that boil about 15 minutes, and then we'll go from there. Okay. As we're trying to get this to boil, I think we're going to add in, let's do a couple tablespoons of salt. 1. There's number 2. Sorry, doing this one-handed here. And then we're also going to add in a couple of bay leaves. And then we're going to take our spoony thing here, or spat, or whatever you want to call it. Stir that salt into that chicken. And we're going to make some broth here too. Like I said, we got a couple of bay leaves in there, and just let them float. There we go. We'll let that come up to a boil. Okay. It's been boiling here about 15-20 minutes. Steam up our camera here. But I want to show you what we did. When you boil chicken around the top, you'll get a white foam. I don't want that in my chicken and dumplings. So I went around the top and skimmed it off. So that's what we've done. We got our carrots and stuff here. We're going to look and see if we can find us what we got going on here. Some garden peas. Like I said, this is going to be like a, going to have dumplings in it, but it's going to be like a chicken pot pie. So that's why we got taters in it. But there's what we're going to put in. And I'm going to take, I've got me some chicken stock here. And I'm going to undo my little lid here. Uncover it. And I'm going to put me, I don't know, we ain't going to put a whole lot in there. About a tablespoon or so. We've already added salt, so we don't want to add a whole lot to that. But now I've got breast and legs in here. And we're going to, when we pull these out, of course, we're going to skin these legs. As you can see, there's skin on them. We'll skin them after we pull this and let it cool for a while. That's where we're at right now. We're going to make our own dumplings. I'm not doing no biscuits in a can. You can use those if you like. I don't care much for them. Just never have been wild about the taste. All right. We've been somewhere around 45 minutes. I kind of lost track of time. But I'd say we're done here. We're going to slide this out a little bit. We'll pull our lid, because I've already pulled one of these pieces of chicken and it looks good to me. And the breasts were frozen when the legs were already cooking, so I think we're good. We're going to pull them all out so that they can cool. And I guess altogether this probably come out to, I'd say probably 2.5, 3 pounds of chicken. And this is a real comfort food here. I mean, it's hearty comfort food. And right now, while we can do it, go ahead and get these bay leaves out of here. We'll just put them right there too. There's one more floating in there somewhere. There we is. Get a hold of it. There we go. We got her. We'll get them bay leaves out and stir that up. I'm going to put that probably on about 275 there. We're going to let that sit there and cool. Because these things take a little bit, we're going to go ahead and get our taters and carrots in there. Like I said, this is not a traditional chicken and dumplings. That's why I got taters in there. More like a pot pie. Alright, let's stir that up. I don't have an onion fresh out of that. I hate making things when I don't have what I need. But I do not have an onion. We're going to pull this over here and break her down here in a minute. We're going to go ahead and let that simmer there for a while. Ain't going to hurt a thing. Alright. We'll start breaking this down here in a little bit after it cools down a little bit, because I like my fingers. So we'll get that in a minute, and then we'll get back to this. And then we'll start our dumplings. Here's what we end up with. And we're just going to set this off to the side. Now we're going to get started on our dumplings here. Get you moved around there so you can see a little better. We're going to jump up here and grab us a little baking powder. This is not a mandatory thing here. I'm going to put me, we want the teaspoon, not the tablespoon. Teaspoon. Put you a couple teaspoons of baking powder in there. That's just all-purpose flour, 2 cups. Get her out of our way. Mix her in there a little bit. All right. I'm going to take me a little butter. Some people use shortening. I just use butter. I'm doing about 3 tablespoons. And we'll just mix that on in there and get that good and mixed in. You don't want that, you know, in big chunks. The way I do it, get it against the edge of the bowl there. Smash it in. Yes, not too far. It don't take long to do it. Like I said, we're just mashing that butter in there. It's going to melt pretty quickly. Because we're going to take we're going to heat up about 1/2 cup of milk. Probably about 3/4. I'm going to lightly heat it. You can even put your butter in the milk if you'd like. Let's see. I think we pretty much got it incorporated there. I'll shake her around, see what floats up to the top, because that butter will stick out like a sore thumb, even though it's white. So I think we got that going there. All right, I'm gonna go get me some milk, and like I said, kind of slightly heat it in the microwave. About 30 seconds or so is all I'm gonna heat it, and it'll melt this butter right quick like. All right, I'll be right back. All right, like I said, we're not out to heat this milk. We're just knocking the chill off of it, because I just took it right out of the refrigerator. I'm gonna start out with about that much. I had 3/4 cup, and I'm down to about 1/4 cup, so about a 1/2 cup. And we're just gonna mix her in. Now this is not dough. If you get real rough with this, you know, a lot of kneading and that kind of stuff, it's going to turn out real tough. I just want this to come together, because like I said, this is not biscuit dough, it's not bread dough or anything like that. I just want everything to start coming together. You see, it's already starting to come together pretty well. We're going to get it to where it's pretty close, and then I'm going to get my hands in there. But it's going to take the whole 3/4 cup. Just want to make sure we get the biggest portion of that flour mixed in there. All right, and like I said, don't go kneading it, just mixing. See how I've got all this flour here? I want to just get it incorporated. And if it doesn't, all of it doesn't incorporate, it's not a biggie. So like this here, I can actually use that on my cutting board. See how it come together pretty good? And again, like I said, I'm not doing I mean, you're going to do a little kneading, but you're not going to do a whole lot. There's what I'm after. It's kind of a dryish ball of dough. All right. We're going to clean these off here, because I don't want to get this in my flour in case I use the wrong hand. We're going to put it over here. And you need to sift when you're making dough. Just put you some flour out on your counter. You don't need a ton of it, just enough to keep it from sticking. Now, like I said, you're not gonna knead it much. You're just gonna fold it over a couple times to get everything together. That's all we're after. Flour keeps it from sticking to the table. All right. Let's get us some more flour moved out here to a little bigger area, surface area. All right, now I don't have a roller. I'm a poor SOB. So here's what we're going to do. This is actually all my paper towels, and I've never used it for that. It goes on a bar that I have in the other room. I just put me some little flour on there. I turn it. It's easier to turn it and make sure it's not sticking to the table or your counter or whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch thick. And like I said, when I turn it, that keeps me to let me know that I'm not sticking to the counter real bad. Like it sticks to this. Because like I said, it's not a true rolling pin. Try not to get to the edge of the table over here, because now I'm going to go ahead and turn my roller. She looks like she's getting pretty close. Looks pretty good to me. Shake off my dust here. Cheat when you can, people. About an inch. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be straight. And then about an inch the other way too. Some people go 2 or 3 inches. I don't like mine getting too big. Me, they get a little too doughy, if you ask me. All right, we're gonna take and put us a little flour on here, just so things don't stick together too bad. And we're gonna take and put them back in this bowl that we used. Now, some of them you'll have big ones like this if you want to cut them down. If not, just throw them in a dang pot. They ain't gonna hurt a thing. You just may have to cut it when you go to eat it. But I just throw them back in here. And what I'm gonna do is put me probably a towel over this until I'm ready for them, because I'm gonna have a flour mess here to clean up. Now, it's up to you. You can make more of these, you can make less of them. Like I said, this is not strictly about, this is not as much about the dumplings for me as it is about getting my chicken pot pie stuff together. We're gonna make us a little roux. We really don't need the big burner. Let's get the small one. I'm gonna take me about 2 or 3, or about 3 tablespoons of butter, and put them in there. I'm gonna melt that down and use the rest of our butter. But in the meantime, while that's starting to melt, we need paprika. Pepper, garlic powder, and since we don't have a onion, I'm gonna get me some onion powder. We're gonna get spoons out of here, which we didn't use, but just for that other. Take our lid off here. Now I've cut her back to about 180. I want to slow that boil down a little bit. Teaspoon of onion powder. Yeah, teaspoon. Teaspoon of paprika. Teaspoon of garlic powder. I'd probably go a little heavier because I like garlic, but you do you. About a teaspoon and a half for me. And I'm going to take and clean that off with that. There we go. And add our frozen peas in here. We'll give them a few minutes to heat up. It won't take them long. Alright, we've got our butter melted. Now, we put 3 tablespoons of butter in there. So we're going to want 3 tablespoons of flour. There we go. Now we'll push this flour out of our way. Get a little small whisk and whisk it together. We're going to let that cook a second. But while that's cooking, we're going to get our one that had milk in it. Clean out our milk. We're going to get some of this chicken broth. tell you what I'm gonna do. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. We're gonna do it this way. Got this cooked in here a little bit. I don't need the peas, so I'll add me a little bit of that water. I just dump them back in there. Now I'll thicken this back up. You'll see it'll turn to a paste real quick, almost like mashed potatoes. We're gonna add the rest of that in there. That's probably a cup and a half, I believe. We're gonna cook this up real thick again. See how that turns really, really quick. All right, let's go back over here. Get you set back up. Right there. Probably gonna actually pull you up a hair. All right. We're gonna get rid of this whisk. I'm gonna bring back my clean my biscuit dough off of there. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in there. This will thicken up the pot. All right, we got that in there. Stir in. Get this out of our way. We can go ahead and add our chicken back in. We want to get that heated back up and mixed into the pot. I don't think my refrigerator likes me much here lately. All right. Good heaping thing of sour cream. I use sour cream a lot in place of like heavy cream or something, because I don't keep that around here. Sour cream I do if I'm a baked potato nut. I have to have sour cream on my baked potatoes. You'll notice it's already starting to change. Getting thicker and creamier. Get that good and mixed up. Now, I'm going to leave this set for about 5 minutes or so and let it thicken up a little bit. We'll be back in a second to put our dumplings in. Okay, in about 5 minutes or so, let's see what we got going on here. Not looking bad. A little thinner than I would like. Of course, I had a lot of water in there to start with. If you want it thicker, take out some of the water on the original chicken cook, but don't take out too much because you're going to need the water to cook your dumplings, which is where we're going right now. And I want you to take these one at a time and place them in here. Shake off the flour, drop them in. If you drop these in all at once and all in the same spot, you're going to end up with, we're going to go up here about 200. You're going to end up with a glob. I'm listening to the news over there. I've had it on. Looks like the president's leaving the hospital at 6 o'clock tonight. So, again, we're going to date when we did this. I don't care. We do these once a week. I may do 6 of them in 1 week. You know, I'm just can't say, yes, I'm going to do 6 a week. Because, 1, I can't afford it. And 2, y'all see enough of me, don't you think? Once a week's enough? These did really good, didn't stick together. We've got quite a few in here too. It's going to turn out really nice, I think. This little bit of flour that's getting added in here, I'll thicken it up a little more too. All right, we're getting to the end here. And as you can see, there is a lot in there. Don't want them stacked on top of each other. I want to get them all wet. So what we're going to do, and I want you to lightly stir these and try to keep them from going together. You see some that are really starting to stick together, kind of get your fork or your spat in there between them. There we go. Those are starting to, see how they'll flake? So they'll be flaky and puffy. Now, you're going to give these about 10 minutes with the lid on. Don't touch them. I want you to know, before you take on this endeavor, one, we'll go ahead. We get about 10 minutes in. We're going to take and push these down to make sure they're all stay wet. They don't dry out and not cook on the top. So let's stir them up lightly. Otherwise, they'll fall apart on you. It's not turning out as thick as I'd like it, but it's still going to be good. But before you take on this endeavor, be sure you know that this is what you're going to have. I've straightened all this up, cleaned out my sinks, and cleaned off my counter, but you saw the countertop. You've seen all these dishes in use. So remember, this takes a lot, and it makes a heck of a mess that you have to clean up. If this doesn't thicken up like I want it to, I think what I'll probably do is maybe pull my dumplings and stuff out and mix me a little more of a roux into it. But we'll see what happens, because this has not boiled, and it should be. They're just now starting to plump up after 10 minutes because they're not boiling. They're just sitting there on hot water. But I'm going to bring it back up to a boil, which may take a few minutes, and then let it go about 5 minutes and see what happens then. Okay, I got a low battery, so we're going to have to get back on the charger pretty quick. But I'll tell you what I did. As you can see, it's a lot thicker. What we did is we took and I put back on the stove a pan with about 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter and 2 or 3 tablespoons of flour, mixed it up a little bit, put some juice in it just like we did before, and then I mixed it back in. That thickened her up a lot better than what I had. Still a little thinner than I want, but it should thicken up a little bit as it sits here. I went ahead and turned it off, and I'm just going to cover it up and let it sit here and let everything get together. I tasted it. I think it needs a little pepper, but we're going to wait until everything sits here for a little bit before we decide. So when we get to that point, we'll let you know. Okay, I'm tethered to a cord, but I want you to see what this looks like. Not real creamy or not real thick like a pot pie, but it's pretty dang close. But we want to give her a taste. We'll get me a carrot and put me a little parsley on top. There you go. We'll put you back over here. And this thing is hot, 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 like lava. Got good chicken flavor to it. And we've let it cool for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And it's still extremely hot. That's good. I'll find me a dumpling here. There they are. Big old square dumpling. We're going to cut it down there a little bit. We don't want to take that big of a bite. And like I said, I'm tethered to a charger. But there we go. I'm dripping all over my table. I didn't get any dumpling. It was too hot. Let's go for another try. It's cooked. A little doughy, not that is the way it's supposed to be. They're flat biscuit or flat dough balls. They're not even balls. They're just flat dough. They turned out really well. Peach for chicken. You gotta try this. I like this. It's going in my book. So this is the newest one to the recipe book. So until next time, folks. See ya.